See, Red taught by example. He didn't, except rarely, take you into the corner, and get in your face and tell you stuff. He, on the one hand, he would be like that, and on the other hand, he wasn't likely to say, "Now watch this," either. He had very subtle ways of being an influence. I'll give you two diverse examples. I'm working the club, his place on La Cienega one night, and we had maybe 12 people. And they all happened to be seated down front. Now, as a comic, I have what we call a quiet act. Quiet meaning I talk to people, I'm a conversant kind of a guy, and I'm not all over the place and way out there and doing up and down, physical things and stuff. And, little thing there, laying a punchline. Little set it up here, laying a punchline. Da-da-da-da-da, quiet humor, warm. It's called a warm-up act for whatever's going to follow. So this one night, I do my set. He comes up. I've introduced him. He comes up and he says, "I got to talk to you after the show." I don't know what that means, Sure, Red. Hand him the mic. He does his thing, knocks the 12 people out. And long story short, he takes me to the back of the room. He says, "Now look here, I want you tonight. I'm sitting in the back of the room." He said, "Son, you got to talk to the cheap seats." The cheap seats? He says, "You talk with you down here with these people, and you talk like you talk, but you gotta talk into the microphone so the people in the cheap seats can hear you back there, even though you're talking to all the little folks up here. You got that?" I never forgot it. Where it came into play was at the Apollo Theater. See, Apollo Theater is grand. You got 3 tiers, and you got, aisles, and it's a crowd. I think about 700 or 800 people, whatever, huge, compared to working little clubs. So he's not saying you gotta work broader, but work so that you can still work here in front of you. They'll catch it, but you gotta let them hear it. They don't hear the words, they miss it. So that was a lesson well learned. The other great lesson, Red as a mentor and a godfather, taught me by example. My then wife was about to have our second child. I'm talking about any day now. And coincidentally, during that whole time, over about the previous 8 weeks or something like that, we weren't being evicted, but I refused to. We had been renting a little 2-bedroom place in the Rancho Park area, I believe. And the rent went from $400, which was a struggle because I was working off and on, to like $850. Well, obviously a way for the owners to get you out of there. Well, we couldn't, we had to move. So my then brother-in-law says, "You guys ought to come check out the valley." And I'm like, "I can't afford the valley." No, just come check it out. You might get lucky, find something. So, and I'm figuring, well, we can't afford to buy anything. It's probably going to be like $1,200 a month, whatever, right? Especially with an addition come. We get lucky. We find this place, 3-bedroom, bath and a half, very, very large lot, which would come down on us later. I told you that story. But it was in foreclosure. And we needed 20% down, and we're like $3,500 short. And we had begged and borrowed and hawked and stuff, and we're within 4 days of escrow closing. And my wife's going, gee, what do we do? We're going to lose our good faith money. And I go, I don't know. Come with me. We'll go up to see Red. Maybe he can help us figure out a way. So we go up to Red's house. Meantime, I have no idea that he has this phobia about pregnant women. So he takes one look at my wife and he goes, "God damn, Morita, is she gonna explode? Get her out of here." So I right away I know. And he sit over there, I'll deal with this. So I explained to Red, chance to buy a house, etc., and escrow is going to close in 4 days. I'm $3,500 short, and I'll work it off. I'll pay you back any way I can, etc. So he said, $3,500. Ain't got no small change on me right now, but calls his secretary over with a thumb snap and says, "Bring me my checkbook." So he's writing the check. Pat Morita, $3,500. And as he's writing, before he signs his name, he says, "Now look here. I don't want to hear about no papers, no payback, no interest, no IOU, no nothing. So you want to pay me back? I know you're going to make it one day, son. You do this for somebody." Never forgot it. Have done it. Fortunately, I got to that place he predicted I was going to get to. And have helped a few people under the same conditions.